A truck driver hits a deer in the middle of the road. He assumes it's dead, but minutes later, the deer slowly stands up, its eyes completely white. Something is wrong, very wrong. The train attendant makes one last check to see if anyone else is boarding. He doesn't notice the young woman who suddenly slips inside at the very last second. The girl is barely able to stand, her body trembling, as if she's losing control, as if something terrible has already happened to her. Seeing no more passengers outside, the attendant signals for the doors to close. But the moment they shut, he witnesses something he will never forget. A crowd is gathering near the station stairs. The entire waiting hall looks like it's erupting into chaos. The train begins to move. Inside, a little girl quietly stares out the window. Then suddenly, the same attendant is violently knocked to the ground by something unseen. The movement is so sudden it startles the girl. She turns to tell her father, but he's asleep, exhausted from waking up too early. Just then, a man calls over another attendant, saying someone in the restroom is making loud, disturbing noises and needs to be checked. Curious, the little girl follows. When the attendant opens the restroom door, she finds a homeless man curled up on the floor, trembling uncontrollably. She asks if he has a ticket, but the man looks terrified, unstable, as if he experienced something horrifying before getting on this train. Meanwhile, in another carriage, the injured girl from earlier tightly wraps her stockings around her thigh. She knows she's about to lose control. She tries to resist it to stay conscious, but it's getting worse. Minutes later, she stumbles into the aisle. And now, she doesn't even look fully human, as if her body no longer belongs to her. With the last trace of awareness, she opened the carriage door, then collapsed violently against the wall, falling to the ground and convulsing uncontrollably. Suan wanted to use the restroom, but as she opened the door, a large-built man stopped her. He explained that his pregnant wife needed the restroom and suggested she use one in the next carriage instead. At that moment, a female attendant began her inspection round and saw the injured girl lying on the floor. Seeing her in terrible condition, she quickly called her manager for help. Meanwhile, Suk-woo suddenly woke up. His phone had been vibrating in his pocket. He noticed his daughter was gone, but seeing the call was from one of his employees, he chose to handle work first. What he heard next shocked him. His employee explained that what happened the night before was not a simple accident. Hearing hurried footsteps and tense voices passing through the aisle, Seok-woo began to sense that something was wrong and immediately got up to look for his daughter. Passengers in the back watched emergency news broadcasts on television. The girl on the floor lost consciousness. The attendant tried desperately to reach someone on the intercom, but there was no signal. Just as she waited anxiously for help to arrive, the girl fully transformed. She became a zombie. The colleague who rushed toward her was too late. The female attendant was already attacked. In the carriage carrying the baseball team, the attendant was pinned to the ground, the zombie on her back trying to bite her. She struggled desperately, hoping someone nearby would help, but the passengers didn't yet understand what was happening until she fell and stopped resisting. But they soon realized the infection was spreading. The disturbance drew attention. When the manager rushed in, frightened passengers knocked him down. That carriage was completely lost. Watching the infected attendant tear into passengers, the manager froze in terror. His eyes widened, his mind went blank. Only when he saw how violently the infected attacked, he began running, shouting for everyone to escape. Suan, still unaware, saw people staring toward the front carriage and curiously stepped forward. There, she witnessed the manager trying to wake a sleeping passenger. Another woman was jolted awake and immediately faced the horrifying scene. Only then did Seok-woo fully understand what was happening. He grabbed Suan and ran toward the back, but turning to look at his daughter, he froze. The zombies were incredibly fast. They chased relentlessly, and the passenger who had run past clutching his hand was now fully infected. Within moments, the rear carriages had fallen. The large-built man was still guarding the restroom door. Seeing people sprinting toward him, he urged his pregnant wife to hurry, but suddenly zombies appeared right behind them. Seok-woo was nearly trapped in between. Song-kyung, still unaware of the full situation, told her husband to help the bitten girl. But when he approached and grabbed the zombie, it suddenly lifted its head and slammed him against the wall, baring its teeth. That momentary standoff gave Seok-woo just enough time to pass safely. But the man was struggling. Unable to overpower it, he forced the zombie into the restroom and locked it inside. Yet just as one threat was contained, the bitten woman on the floor began to turn. Realizing the danger, he immediately told his pregnant wife to run toward the front of the train. Seok-woo finally reached a seemingly safe carriage, but as the couple ran toward it, Director Kim began urging everyone to shut the door. Seok-woo hesitated, but under pressure and fear, he closed it tightly. Fortunately, young Suan spoke up for them, and the large man, displaying overwhelming strength, punched the zombie hard enough to buy them time to get inside. Once inside, he held the door firmly, preventing the zombies from breaking through. Seok-woo observed carefully. They didn't know how to open doors. The man was skeptical, but slowly released his grip. The zombies simply clawed at the glass. They were mindless. Then Seok-woo realized something else. They relied on sight. Seong-kyung quickly picked up water bottles and newspapers, covering the glass doors completely. Instantly, the zombies calmed. Seok-woo's sharp observation had saved them. But that didn't stop the man from confronting him for nearly getting them killed earlier. The two argued heatedly until a transit officer intervened. An announcement came. The train would stop at the next station to let passengers escape. But when they arrived, the situation outside was just as chaotic. To those desperate to flee, the train looked like heaven. They begged to be let on, but the survivors inside knew better. The conductor quickly departed for the next station. Then came the irony. On television, the president announced that the situation was under control, that a cure was expected soon. But in reality, due to misunderstanding the virus, rescue teams mistakenly evacuated infected individuals by plane, spreading the outbreak to previously safe cities. The entire country descended into chaos. There was no sign of government rescue. Soon, another announcement gave hope. At Daejeon Station, the military had been deployed for rescue, but Seok-woo noticed Director Kim secretly calling someone, mentioning safety concerns at Daejeon. A bad feeling grew. Seok-woo called a military contact to confirm. The truth was worse. The military wasn't there to rescue them. They were there to quarantine them. Unwilling to be isolated, Seok-woo asked for special treatment. After promising future investment favors, he secured help to quietly extract himself and his daughter. Relieved, he turned to leave, noticing the homeless man nearby, seemingly asleep. He ignored him, unaware that this man would soon save his life. Soon the train arrived at Daejeon. The station was eerily empty. With nowhere else to go, they cautiously moved toward the exit. Director Kim urged the conductor to abandon the other carriages and head directly to Busan. The conductor insisted on informing everyone first. Meanwhile, Seok-woo quietly separated from the group with Suan heading toward a side plaza. Turning around, he saw the homeless man staring at him. Feeling guilty, he told him not to follow, but the man had overheard the phone call. He knew Seok-woo was his only chance. At the end of the corridor, soldiers appeared. The homeless man waved excitedly and ran toward them. Seok-woo told Suan to stay put and ran too. He nearly lost her in that moment. Elsewhere, the large man sensed something was wrong. If it was truly safe, why was there blood everywhere? As the escalator descended, soldiers came into view, but their stiff movements revealed the truth. They were infected. The escalator became a feeding machine. The large man kicked open a barricade and escaped upward. They ran again. Seok-woo narrowly blocked a zombie's bite with a book. Students held the station doors open for survivors. The door wouldn't lock properly. Worse, fleeing passengers accidentally opened a carriage full of zombies. The conductor still tried to save as many as possible. Director Kim demanded departure. In fear, the order was given. The train began moving. Some students were tackled. Seok-woo pulled one up. Something had changed in him. The selfish man who once told his daughter not to help others now fought alongside strangers. The homeless man's earlier kindness had transformed him. They caught up to the train. The large man grabbed riot gear and cleared obstacles before boarding. Others were not as lucky. Trapped between carriages, survivors hid in a restroom. Zombies gathered outside. A call for help reached Car 9. They were in Car 15. To reach them seemed impossible. But for his daughter, Seok-woo refused to give up. A student explained that survivors were sheltering in Car 15. If they could fight to Car 13, they could rescue the trapped group, then reach safety. He strapped on baseball protective gear. The large man removed his shirt and planned their strategy. The train entered a tunnel. They prepared. The lights flickered back on, and the three men stepped forward into battle. The three of them charge forward. The large man smashes through zombies with his bare fists. Seok-woo guards his side, and the boy forces himself to swing his bat. Together, they push through the aisle. The next carriage is packed with infected baseball players, and the boy freezes. But the large man shoves him aside and throws himself into the fight, while Seok-woo grabs another bat to help. They're nearly overwhelmed until the train enters another tunnel, and in the darkness, the zombies hesitate. Seok-woo makes a sharp noise to lure them away, and they slip past. Between carriages, he quickly calculates the time between tunnels and forms a plan. When darkness falls again, they enter without fighting, tossing a phone to the back and calling it so. The ringtone draws the infected away. They cross in silence and finally reach the restroom where the others are hiding, relief washing over them. The boy texts the girl in car 15 to say they're close, and she shares the news, but fear spreads just as quickly. The selfish executive insists they could be infected, and others agree. When the train enters another tunnel, the group crawls along the luggage racks to avoid the zombies below. Seok-woo distracts them again, and they drop into the next carriage, but a crushed can rolls underfoot, and the noise triggers another attack. They barely squeeze through a door as the large man holds it shut against the slamming bodies. They try to enter the next carriage, but the survivors inside have sealed it from their side. The boy pounds on the glass, begging to be let in, but no one moves. Seok-woo rushes to help the large man who is struggling to keep the door closed. Then he's bitten. The door finally gives way, and they spill inside. The large man tells his pregnant wife to stay back and asks Seok-woo to protect her because he's getting weaker. The infected break through, and he holds them off alone while the others run. Seok-woo pulls his daughter and the pregnant woman inside and slams the door, but the executive immediately accuses him of being infected, and panic spreads again. The survivors force them into the vestibule and seal the door. Outside, chaos erupts when one elderly woman opens the door for her infected sister, and the zombies flood the carriage. In the cabin, the conductor tries to contact Busan but gets no response as smoke rises in the distance. Seok-woo kneels beside his daughter and promises to take her to her mother for her birthday. Soon, he learns the virus began within a company tied to his own work. The train suddenly breaks because of a blockade ahead, and the conductor announces he'll find another locomotive to reach Busan. Only a few remain alive. The executive survives and sacrifices the attendant to escape. A burning train car crashes into the wreckage, separating the survivors. The young couple are torn apart, and the boy tries to save the girl, but she turns in his arms and bites him. Under collapsed metal, Seok-woo, his daughter, the pregnant woman, and the homeless man are trapped. The executive runs for the moving locomotive, abandoning the conductor when he tries to help. The carriage shifts, windows shatter, and zombies break through. The homeless man throws himself at them to block their path so the others can escape. Seok-woo pulls the two women free, and they chase the moving train as infected swarm behind them, piling onto the last car. He kicks them off one by one until they finally break free. Inside the cabin, the half-turned executive opens the door. It's too late. They fight in the narrow space. The pregnant woman knocks him aside, but Seok-woo is bitten while restraining him and throws the infected man off the train. He looks at his wrist and understands. He guides the two into the cabin, shows them the brakes, and tells his daughter to stay with the woman and go to Busan. She refuses to let go, but he gently pulls away before he turns and walks to the back of the train. As the infection takes hold, he remembers the day she was born, the first time he held her, and with a faint smile, he jumps. The train reaches the outskirts of Busan, but the tracks are blocked again, so the pregnant woman and the girl continue on foot through smoke and rubble into a dark tunnel. Soldiers wait on the other side with rifles raised, a sniper taking aim, unsure whether they're infected. An order to fire is given. Then the girl begins to sing, her small voice echoing through the tunnel. The sniper lowers his weapon and calls out that survivors are approaching. Soldiers run forward, and for the first time since the outbreak began, there is hope.